Since you're the alum here of a school that has a game canceled already because of COVID, how are you feeling?
Uh,
We're
it's
not we're not trying to say that we told you so because we just
no,
did the required reading, but
it just, it just seems like that was a very reasonable thing to expect. And it's interesting that Ohio was one of the schools that didn't really have like any outbreaks for a while there. They went weeks and weeks without any issues, and now they have this issue. They're trying to whittle it down to not. It's not an outbreak. There's just a couple people who tested positive. We're not going to tell you how many. That's where it stands. I'm sure you'll see more from like folks like Jason Arkley doing his own reporting on his own like Substack or whatever it is at this point. He's still writing full stories. And
it's
if
not a
you want to know,
Substack, it's a blog. I think you've read it before.
I very briefly,
SUACBobcats.com.
very briefly glimpsed this stuff. I've always followed Jason's Twitter more closely than his actual writing. The writing was like for preseason stuff. I'm trying to find out stuff about the team. But anyway, we're looking at a week without the defending MAC champion and a team that would love to know more about, but they just don't get to play. So, whatever. I mean, what sucks more about this is just the tradition that this game has had, and it's the first time not being played since like 40s, I want to say. I should know this more than Alex should, but I'm a slacker. Yeah, it's been a long time since these two haven't played in the season.
It's an important game, and it was going to come in at a time where Miami really needed a win against Ohio because, it lost last week, and you need at least 3 games played to be qualified for the MAC championship game. So this is going to be a big week for everybody. We'll get to the rest of everything else later, but
for sure.
yeah, I mean, it just sucks. I mean, we had a hunch that it was going to happen at some point, and now that it did, it just sucks to know that the first time that this happened in the MAC is that it took away a huge historic rivalry game. Isn't it the longest active played one in the MAC?
It might be. I wouldn't be surprised if the Wagon Wheel's been played longer, but Battle of the Bricks has been played since 1944 every year. And Arkley, we just mentioned a second ago in our intro, talking to SWAC Bobcats, he interviewed somebody who's been to the last 53 of those games. And it's meant a lot for a long time. The schools are separated by just a few hours of driving. They've got the homey small town feels and the bricks and whatever. Miami people are just more preppy and full of themselves. And wait, can we turn this into a Crap on Miami podcast?
No, we're not doing that.
Okay, whatever. I mean, yeah, first time since 1944. That's kind of nuts to think about.
Welcome to MAC Football Forever. I'm Alex Alvarado. That's Caleb Carter. Sorry to start things out with a bummer, but that's just the way the world is. And now we have week 3 games to look forward to. Thankfully, there's still some games that we still have. Thankfully, there's such high testing protocols that after, and I'm speaking as the Michigander here, after Governor Whitmer made her emergency powers, after she handed them out on Sunday night and said that there wouldn't be any non-pro sports, a lot of MAC fans were like, oh my goodness, this is going to affect EMU, CMU, Western. Right. And then once the news came out, it was because of the high protocols that, the Big Ten and the Mid-American Conference are going through, that those are the reasons why the 5 Michigan college teams in FBS play right now can keep playing.
Right, because of the rapid testing ability to counteract the potential spread with quick precision is the thought process there. But I mean, I'm not complaining right now. I know it's still a little thing. It's something to give you pause and try to think about what they're doing right now. I know a common refrain I've had during the past couple of months has been, what are we doing? But I still want MAC football, and I still want this to happen, and I still want those guys to stay safe. So it is what it is. We're without Ohio, Miami, and we still get Michigan State football in the state of Michigan.
I think, something that we'll have to keep an eye on more. Obviously, hopefully that we don't have a repeat of what's going on and what ruined the Battle for the Bricks rivalry, right? Hopefully there aren't any more outbreaks on the team. Hopefully things can be more contained. Mm-hmm. Hopefully that, what's going on in Michigan, the 3-week pause on, public indoor gatherings at places like restaurants and casinos, hopefully that can slow the spread, and hopefully it doesn't affect too many, not just football players in Michigan, of course, but families and people in general around the holiday time. Hopefully all of that, the slowdown during these 3 weeks. Hopefully it's just 3 weeks. Hopefully it doesn't linger into the MAC football season too much. We also have to realize that after this week, there's going to be a pause in action. The next game isn't until, we have the tonight, the Tuesday and the Wednesday games, but then we don't play again until Black Friday and then Saturday. So there is some time where, hopefully the curve can flatten theoretically. I'm not a smart person. I'm just trying to be hopeful here. Hopefully the curve can flatten with the.
You
with
can
the
say
virus.
that again.
Hopefully things improve across the Midwest, especially, and hopefully play out the rest of this year. I mean, it'd be nice.
Please.
And if there's more good news about a possible vaccine at now a couple different places, like was it Pfizer, and
Moderna.
Moderna, yep. So just some things to look out for. Not those things aren't guaranteed. I mean, it looks like a vaccine wouldn't come out until what? Probably after the season.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter at that point.
They might be able to distribute it in minor doses much sooner, but like at a mass-produced level, it's not happening for April in any respect.
Right, yeah.
Which still, flu vaccines aren't as effective as what they're seeing Moderna potentially to be. So if it's at 95% success, that's a massive success. So looking at the bright side of things, if we're at that point, and we're able to mass produce a vaccine of that caliber and able to replicate that type of formula, super good news. Super good news for a lot of people, not just in the United States, not just for sports fans, people all over the world. So we can be a little optimistic about that.
Yeah, but until then, we don't have vaccines in our pockets. It's just those are just notifications you saw on your phone. Those are not things that you can pick up at CVS. So please keep washing your hands. Please keep masking up, and please stay the away from me.
You already want that.
But Caleb, week 3 is here for 10 other teams. Let's quickly look at the 5 games that we have on Tuesday and Wednesday. We have a few rivalry games still. Got rid of one, but we still have 3 more to look forward to. And one series that's starting to tighten up and to be like decided by 1 touchdown every year. But that's because it involves Eastern Michigan. Tuesday, we have Buffalo at Bowling Green, and then Akron at Kent State, which that got moved from ESPNU to ESPN. Yeah. Sure, all things considered, it sucks in the way that it happened, but I don't remember the last time Akron's ever been on ESPN, so that's awesome.
Cool for them. I mean, it's a rallying cry after a week where they performed admirably against Ohio, so...
Let the whole world see Tion Dollard.
I mean...
I don't know.
We'll get into the keys later, but Akron's going to have to do a little bit more to get Tion Dollard going to make this competitive.
And then the West has the Wednesday games, Ball State at NIU for Battle for the Brown Stock, Toledo at Eastern, and then Western at Central. All those are going to be 7 o'clock kickoffs on the East time zone. Caleb, where should we begin for our Tuesday games?
Well, let's just get right at Buffalo and BG. Let's talk about the team that looked the best in the conference last week.
Buffalo is going to Bowling Green, opens as 31-point favorite. I mean, this should be pretty quick and easy, but what are you looking forward to in this game?
It's easy to talk about all the things that excite you about what Buffalo did last week, but I would like to see if BG at home shows up with a little pride and manages to, maybe control some clock, show off maybe some weapons we haven't seen, make something exciting happen. I mean, you don't have to go into this game expecting to. You're not going to tell your kids you're not going to win, but I mean, you probably should. If you're a coaching staff at BG, you're not expecting to go into this game and win, even at home. But I would just like to see BG do some exciting things at this point. Matt McDonald's been, has underperformed, and you see the athleticism there, strong arm, but just the offensive cohesiveness is nowhere there. They're playing a lot of young guys, just like several MAC teams are. So you're kind of just looking for Buffalo or for BG to make strides, and after that, Buffalo just to kind of take care of business as they should. It shouldn't be like 31-point spread seems entirely fair, and if Buffalo's not scoring in the high 30s or low 40s, they're probably doing something pretty wrong.
Yeah, I mean, we were kind of looking forward to seeing Matt McDonald play this year to see what he's about. So far, he's about 28% throwing. There's a lot of improvement that needs to happen there, but I mean, it's not all from him. He's not the entire team. So I don't know. I'm just looking to see if Bowling Green can make noticeable differences anywhere. If it can
Yeah.
stop or just slow down Buffalo's defensive line, defensive front, that in itself would be, something to look at and to study over, you know, looking into 2021 when that time comes around. Like, hey, Bowling Green had a disastrous season. We all knew it was going to come, but look at what they did against Buffalo, against like the toughest unit in the MAC. If Bowling Green can come away with a victory in just that and that part, and kind of give Matt McDonald some time, that's something that Bowling Green can just at least build off of seriously, especially in the East in its own division. But if not, then I don't know. Then Bowling Green's toast.
Seriously, and not really much more to add in that respect. I mean, Buffalo's not super bitten by the injury bug right now. They've got a few issues, but that should just be taking care of business. It shouldn't be much more complicated than that.
Let's rock this conversation to the wagon wheel. Akron at Kent State. Kent State, 25-point favorites, says Vegas.
I'm actually a little bit surprised that, I mean, even as good as Buffalo is, I'm a little bit surprised that Kent State isn't more than the spread favored than against Akron, but maybe they gave Akron a little credit for slowing down Ohio, not letting Ohio run off too many big plays or anything along those lines. But again, Ohio's offense is not Kent State's offense. I think Kent State's easily 30 points better than Akron. Whether it works out that way is another question. Nobody has an answer for Isaiah McCoy yet. Deshaun Pokey is obviously making some waves. The young running backs are making some waves. And this week I'm more interested in which types of other guys get involved, just like the freshmen did for Kent State last week.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I'm interested in for Kent State. And if we see some big defensive plays made, maybe in the turnover department for Kent State. For Akron, you've already mentioned Ballard. And do you like to see Zach Gibson show some consistency and some growth if you're Akron? And I think that for Akron, that's what I'd want to see most, is that Gibson is capable of showing the potential that they maybe see in him.
I mostly want to see how the team responds to him. Like, yeah, I know he's a firecracker. I'm sure his team's comfortable with it, but I just want to see if the team responds positively in game. It's one thing to respond positively to your quarterback in practice, but can they do it?
Sure.
If they're losing to their rivalry in 2020, I'd like to see what all that's about. So far, I'm impressed with the vibe that I'm getting out of Akron, so I don't have any reason to go against that. But Kent State is just more talented, has more of its shit together. Akron's in a position where it has to rely more on JUCO guys, and so does Kent State. Kent State gets some transfers here and there, but Akron's in the middle of just trying to figure it out. Kent State figured it out in a hurry, and they're just going to run right through Akron still. Yeah, I think Akron or Kent State knows what it's getting out of its freshmen that's getting onto the field, not just in garbage time, but like Vance and Polk, like those guys. Yeah, I'm just looking to see if Akron can make any takeaways from Kent State. I know you said that for Kent State, but I want to see if Akron's defense can step up and take the ball away from Dustin Crum.
Oh, definitely. Imagine if they take a pick six back, what type of lift that would even be. Even if they give up 45 points, to grab a few stops and maybe return something back and make that type of play would just be such a pick-me-up, even in a game where they shouldn't be expected to win.
Yeah, we'd forget that they punted right after that, but we'd remember the interception. Ball State, NIU. Ball State last year won the Bronze Stalk Trophy for the first time ever. I didn't realize that was the case until it happened.
Yep.
But I guess I wasn't surprised either. Is Ball State going to defend the trophy for the first time? Obviously, yes, but
NIU's offense is pitiful against Central, and despite the type of effort its defense gave them in the first half and the type of parts of the field they had the ball at, it was bad for NIU, and they've got to figure something. I think Harrison Whaley's going to potentially take the majority of the carries for the Huskies this week, the true freshman running back from Iowa, and he's got that 10-7, 100-meter speed, and at that point, it's like, okay, so again, every week with him, it's can a younger guy step up? Is Daniel Crawford going to step up? Ross Bowers is, I don't know if it's the cupboard working bear, if he is who he is at this point. The numbers are like he's throwing 30 passes for 150 yards, and it's happening with some frequency. So they got to figure something out. offensively to take some of the pressure off the defense, where they don't have to stop them every drive to ever score. I don't know.
For sure.
It's a very bad looking NIU team right now, and if they don't show offensively they're capable of something this week, we're not going to see anything this year.
No, absolutely not. NIU's offense, 4.3 yards per play.
It's as bad as it's been, and for whatever ways that NIU fans, and I experienced it on covering them, that they've whatever struggles they've been through on the offensive side of the football, whatever complaints they've had, they're worse than ever. And we get it with the youth and the transition they're going through, but at some point they have to show growth.
I think that the same thing's going to happen again. Just give it to Caleb Huntley. Like NIU.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, they slowed down Central's running attack more than I expected to, but I mean, Caleb Huntley's just too good, and I don't think NIU's defense has a strong enough. I don't know, just has a good enough player or set of players to stop that rushing attack, I guess.
At some point, Kyle Pugh, as good as he is, having to run into Huntley over and over and over is not going to be conducive to a guy who's been banged up for his whole career and fighting his heart out for almost 6 years now for the Huskies. And if I'm Ball State, there's a couple things I want to do this week, and it specifically brings to mind last year when Ball State struggled out of the gates, and IU was up 17-3 at the half. Drew Plitt could not hit the broadside of a barn, and they were not setting up a lot of easy throws for him. One thing that Ball State's got to do immediately this time around is set up some easy throws, easy pitches and catches to get Plitt in the groove of the game. They're obviously not going to want the wind to be massively gusting, but if he can get some easy throws going early, get the jitters out, and be efficient early, then it's going to be a long night for the NIU defense again.
Toledo is going to Eastern Michigan. This is the first of two games that's decided by only one touchdown. But it makes sense because Eastern's in that category. What are you expecting to see out of, I don't know, Toledo's offense, I guess? I mean, Toledo's been fluid. They've been good. Last week they lost in a way they shouldn't have, so of course they're going to come out hungry. But, what are you expecting out of Toledo today or Wednesday?
Toledo, for one, I mean, Peters did not have the type of game. He had the type of game last week that probably should have lent itself to a victory. And Toledo was converting in big moments. They were getting their third downs. They were creating gash plays on first down and setting up easy second, third down opportunities. Kovac was super huge. Shaquille Seymour will note that he lost his mother and was going through something like that. So if you guys noticed that he wasn't involved in the second half, the announcers at the time made the assessment that they thought maybe he's injured, but that was what he was going through at the time. And so don't know what his status is for this week. You can't just make a prediction he's going to play inspired or anything like that. But, I mean, regardless, Toledo is going to be heading into EMU, you would think, with something of a chip on their shoulder after what happened against Western. And I don't know, maybe they collapsed. They've done it before. They've gotten tripped up and then just decided
No, they haven't. Toledo's never collapsed before. Come on.
Hey, man. Yeah, shut up. They love the free fall. So rockets into free fall. You know what it be. Anyway, yeah, no, I'm interested to see if they kind of get just back in the rhythm of things and what the offensive game plan is against Eastern in terms of getting the backs involved early, and if they're super heavy on the run right from the get-go, or what's kind of the balance there. So nothing sexy, bread and butter type stuff is mostly what I'm interested in. I got nothing else for you outside of that. Where are you at thinking with EMU in this one?
Eastern's been missing some receivers the past couple weeks, like Dylan Drummond, who missed the first couple of weeks. Hassan Badoon, he missed last week. Mm-hmm. And so they haven't, and along with everything else, like it's not returning the most guys to begin with anyway. So they haven't found a lot of production on its offense. Last week they found a little bit of a run game with its quarterback finally, and some running backs produced, like Samson Evans. He got into the game. So I don't want to say, I hope to see more out of the run game, because I've been saying that ever since Chris Creighton got hired, basically. But I'm looking to see if they can figure out some more chunk plays through the air too. Like this is the time to do it, because Toledo's going to score some points early. And so they have to find a way to, keep up with Toledo's offense if it should get to that point. But defensively, Eastern's defense kind of wants to take away some early possessions, right? or if not take away, at least stop them early on. If they can get some early stops, then they won't have to play catch up so much later on.
I would like to see. I know Boone had kind of the majority of the carry, or was the guy the first week. I would like to see Samson Evans do something. He played for a program in Prairie Ridge, Illinois, that was pretty successful, and he is from Crystal Lake, Illinois, a town that was in the footprint of the newspaper I used to work with. It would be kind of cool to see him kind of excel. It doesn't have to be 20 carries and 150 yards, but a guy like him having some success after being an Iowa transfer would be kind of cool to see. So
No,
interesting.
I think it has to be that much. Yeah, no, it has to be that much. That'd be cool.
You would like that. You would enjoy it.
I'd enjoy it.
Yeah, I for one would enjoy that. But no, I am interested in seeing if there's any if we have any like stars in the making coming from EMU's defense, because it's a lot of new replacements this year, as you've mentioned before in past episodes, and like a lot of guys filling in spots that weren't there last year. So I'm kind of interested to see if we keep seeing guys become that name-worthy dudes from Eastern's defense.
Last game, battle for the cannon. Again, Western is in the game of the week, but that's okay because
Allow it.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna be good. This one, it should determine the West at this point. How much do you think Central's defense can slow down Western's offense?
That's a good question. Western does not have an offense that is particularly. You can't shut down one aspect of the offense. You can't shut down the run game and just because Western could. I feel like Western very easily could capably get completely vertical in the passing game and create big plays even if they don't have the balance. I feel the same way about if LB were to get slowed down and they were just able to run the ball with their backs. But I trust McElwain's staff a little bit more to do that than like Jason Candle's staff to slow down Western's offense. So in that respect, I think it has the potential to be a really good matchup. And if you're going to see Central Michigan step up defensively, I think there's going to be some guys who, are just run-of-the-mill guys who are going to make some big plays this week.
Let Khalil Pimpleton cook. Give him the ball. I really think the more he cooks, the better Central's odds of winning are going to be. And I haven't seen the ball in his hands too much this year.
Right.
And not that, the NIU game was one where he was expected to be in the kitchen for a long time, but the Ohio game was an opportunity for him to, for him to be showcased, I guess, and that didn't really happen too much. And I think that would especially, again, just add more efficiency to the offense too. So I think you solve a lot more problems just going his way than not. And the run game just needs to get fixed up a little bit too. That's all. They're still good. The backs are still strong and all that, but they're just not getting enough push up front. They're not running through the gaps that they want to go through, that the plays are designed for all the time. So if they can create the gaps, if they can force the ball through the holes that they want to go through, then I think Central will be in a better spot that way. But I really, really like where Western's at. Especially with the way that Caleb Ellaby's been playing. Western's not as Western was always going to be tough, but Western's a lot better than I thought they'd be.
Yeah. One thing to note, too,
I guess more complete. I guess that's the better way of saying it.
One thing to note, too, is that Troy Brown's going to miss the first half of this game after incurring a targeting call in the second half of the NIU game. So whether it's Troy Hairston, whether it's like Chuck Jones at backer, one of their backups, maybe it's a nickel like Richard Bowens, I don't know. Somebody also needs to come up with big plays against Western, because if you don't turn Western over, there's not a super strong chance, I feel, that you're going to beat them.
Caleb, I have again, I'm not going to tell you how many minutes are on the clock because we're going to speed through this, but I only have a couple minutes here on the clock, and we're going to make our picks as quickly as possible and get our last words in on each game before we head out of here. I'm going to hit play as soon as I start asking you this question. How many rushing yards does Buffalo pick up on the road, and who wins the game at Bowling Green?
Buffalo rushes for 265 yards and wins by 32.
Did you just look at the spread?
Nope.
It's 31.5.
32, baby.
Yeah, I'm also picking Buffalo. No surprise there. Akron at Kent State. I mean, we're both picking Kent State here, right?
Yeah.
Now, the spread's 25. What are you expecting the final score to be?
I'm going to go with Kent State 56, Akron 17.
Ball State, NIU. Ball State's a 2-touchdown favorite. The over/under set at 60, so they're expecting some points here.
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to see some points out of NIU? And also, follow-up question: will we see enough?
We're going to see some points. I would venture to say more points this week, just because if you can't score against Ball State's off or defense, then you shouldn't be super confident you're going to score much this year. So Coach Hammock better have his bucket of tricks there. And I've still got Ball State not covering, but winning 34-24.
Yeah, I got Ball State winning too. I mean, Caleb Huntley's just an animal. He might end up being like this year's offensive MVP if he just runs literally at the exact same pace. Toledo at Eastern. I wanted to put this note in earlier. Toledo's defense, it's been a group effort across the board for them. They don't have any true standouts, but here's this. They have 11 players with tackles for loss, and 7 players have pass breakups.
I feel like that runs so in tune with like my idea of Toledo never having the superstars at any defensive position, but they always have guys who get the job done.
They got a lot of athletes.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like you should make the prediction first. I want to hear your prediction first for Toledo EMU.
I mean, I'm going to pick Toledo here just because I don't want to be wrong on the internet anymore. Not only do they have to get the plays going, but obviously they have to get some of its playmakers back onto the field. They're missing the offensive guys, like I said. And if Darius Boone can get back into the lineup this week, it'd be great to see what this freshman can do. He was exciting in the first quarter of his first start, and then he went down with injury, and then he was out this past week. Hopefully he's healthy and safe, but we just need to see some production out of the offense. And until then, Toledo's just simply more talented.
So here's the thing. I'm going to go with my first noticeable upset of the year and pick Eastern. 24-23. And it's going to fall in line with, these close games they've had in recent years. And Hutchinson makes some plays in the fourth quarter that, get you excited. And the defense makes some plays, and Toledo just comes out and maybe comes out quick early, but after that kind of falls flat. And that's some very specific things, but that's what I'm going with. I think Eastern wins it by a score.
I said I don't want to be wrong on the internet, but for the record, I'm okay with being wrong. I would almost prefer it sometimes. I
think we should note that I have not gotten any predicted games wrong yet. I have that on Alex.
Hey, here's another opportunity for you to get one wrong again. Western Central, the game of the week, basically. I'm picking Western. I'm just going to say straight up, I think Western has the best opportunity to win close and has the best opportunity to win big.
At the beginning of the year, did you pick CMU or because I know I picked Western.
You picked Western at the beginning of the year. I picked Central.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just want to be sure. I think in a low-scoring game, I would pick Central. I think Western's playing well enough right now that I wouldn't expect them to be in a low-scoring game. So I think Western probably wins something like 38-31 or something along those lines.
Yeah, it's definitely hard. Like I was hoping, I guess. I shouldn't say hope. I mean, I am talking about Central here.
Sure.
But I was expecting to see a little bit more offensive efficiency out of Central so far.
Yeah.
In the first 2 weeks, they're averaging 5.7 yards per play. And they're, 7th in the MAC, like I said, which is just above Eastern, Miami, Akron, Bowling Green, and NIU. Central can win if it can, especially if it can just like lock up with its receivers, with Western's receivers, and get some turnovers there.
Yeah, definitely.
That'll definitely help. And if it doesn't create some turnovers there, it might create some coverage sacks.
Yeah, and a quick thing to note too, Ali Fayyad is doubtful for this game too for Western. And he had efficiency-wise, he had a really good performance last week, even though he went down. So it's could prove different. It could be a difference for Richardson having a really good game.
Yeah, absolutely, because he's a difference maker on the field, so he should definitely be a difference maker off the field. So who are you picking here?
I got Western, man.
All right, and I think that'll wrap things up. And if you disagree with us, yell at us on Twitter, yell at us in the comments, or anything else. Caleb, I think I keep asking you this question every week, but I like it. What are you hoping to learn this week?
I guess I'm curious this week to see if anybody can completely kind of just take us by surprise, are we going to see a completely unexpected result? Like, I really don't envision it from Buffalo and Kent State being upset. But, like, I already noted that I think I could see Toledo winning, or I could see Eastern Toledo. I think it's not unreasonable to say that even a very bad-looking NIU team could take advantage of a lackluster Ball State performance.
Absolutely.
I don't expect it to happen. Sure.
That would fall in line with everything that I've said about Ball State before.
Sure. And if, like, the defensive backs just completely fall asleep at the wheel, then maybe NIU, or this is referring to Ball State's defensive backs, maybe NIU gets something going through the year. But I wouldn't, that's kind of what I'm interested in this week. If somebody just kind of, like, turns the tables and changes the narrative on who the bottom teams are in this league.